Good morning. Welcome back to Bald Feather Bets, everyone. Quick recap of NFL Sunday, and then we'll talk about the play for tonight for Monday Night Football. But first, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel, notifications on, so you know when we post, and then just interact with the content. Like the videos, share them around, comment on them, anything you can do to help us grow the channel. So NFL Sunday yesterday, 22 and 29, so not a positive day. Started out really bad. 9 and 21 in the early window, won 3 3-unit games, lost all 3 5-unit plays, and 2 additional 3-unit plays. So 9 and 21. The big swing there would have been the Bills. Quite honestly, though, we had no business covering the Bills anyway, but we did get into a position late where Bills got a touchdown to give us the cover, but then gave up a touchdown to T. Higgins along the right side late in the game, and then just needed to get a first down to then win the game, so they had no incentive to go score again. I think it was like a 3rd and 7. Deep ball down the right side to T. Higgins, made a spectacular one-handed catch. T. Higgins had been getting them down the right side all game, and it's just, Bills aren't very strong defensively. That was probably our major swing there. Also, Falcons and Seahawks were close the whole first half. Falcons didn't take advantage of some early opportunities they had, and then they gave up I think the opening kickoff for a touchdown against the Seahawks in the second half, and everything spoiled out from there. So that one was done. Ravens never really had a chance to cover 5.5 against the Steelers. They were out of it the whole game. Nothing really of swing note in terms of the 3-unit games. Potential with that we were going to get a Browns cover, but they did that thing where they score, go for 2. They didn't get the 2, which good, since they were going for 2 at that point, because we needed them to win by 3 or more. And then when they scored the second time, they had one of the worst 2-point conversion attempts that we've seen, with Shedeur not on the field. Judkins clearly supposed to make a pitch on the outside of the wide receiver who's coming over, and he just didn't pitch the ball. So loss there. So 9 and 21 out of that. Then we went into the afternoon window where we did much better, 13 and 3. Never in doubt on the Raiders, right, guys? Never in doubt. We knew we had that one all along. No, I've seen a lot of people make NFL's rigged type accusations. It's not. That's just the way the game went. McVay did something very similar where he kicked the field goal as time expired that gave the Rams a cover last year. I think it was the exact same situation, plus 7.5 too. In this situation, a little bit different in that there were 4 seconds left. I think what Carroll was thinking is potentially the kick would only take 3 seconds, and then they would have an opportunity at a immediate recover on an onside and a Hail Mary. That they did not. So ultimately they got the ball, kicked the field goal, and then the game ended and they just covered the spread. But again, that was a clear delay of game on Denver for pushing off and standing on top of the player while he was trying to get up and get the ball to the line. Wasn't going to make it. There was 4 seconds left. They had to run the whole team down. But it was a clear delay of game penalty, and then that gave them the extra yardage, and then they kicked the field goal. Very strange sequence of events, but we're happy about it. Gave us a cover. And then Packers and Bears, another one, never in doubt, right, guys? I told you the Bears are awful and the Packers are going to blow them out. That did not happen, but the Packers did get the cover ultimately with a 7-point victory for our -6. The Caleb played outstanding. Early on, when that game could have potentially been broken open a little bit by the Packers, Caleb did enough to sustain drives offensively. And then by the second half, with the Bears having one of the larger offensive lines in the NFL, them having a very healthy offensive line as well, the run game set in, and then they were able to have really long-standing drives that kept the ball out of the Packers' hands. When the ball was in the Packers' hands, they were quite lethal with it, getting touchdowns. but the Bears had an excellent game plan in order to shorten that game, and I wouldn't lie to you if I wasn't nervous come down at the end, because it really did look like the Bears were going to cover the number, but ultimately they did not. We got a pick in the end zone. Packers cover, so our 10-unit play hit, 13-3 on the afternoon, and then heading into Sunday Night Football, so that brought us to 22-24. So it really came down to a winning day or a losing day was going to be based off of the Sunday Night Football result with 5 units, and we lost with the Chiefs at -3.5. That game was went exactly the way that I thought, and then some very interesting decisions were made. Huge impact there with Harrison Butker's missed field goal in the first half. Would have then been a 10-3 game rather than a 10-0 game. You also would have had the potential with regards to Butker getting, when he made that next field goal in the second half, then that would have given them the 13-10 lead. But then you also had dropped touchdown pass in the end zone. I think that was Thornton. Incredible play by the Houston Texans defensively. So rather than 14-10, we were at 10-10 because they had to kick that field goal. And then it was coming down late. And again, it was one of those things where I think in the third quarter, the Texans had like -2 yards. So the Chiefs were playing incredibly defensively. Andy Reid decides to go for it on a 4th and 1 from his own 30-yard line. That analytically, maybe it says that you should do that. It's a 10-10 game, and this is a game where any point scored is extremely valuable with how those defenses were playing, and they just gifted the Texans scoring field position. And then on the next one, they went for it again on 4th and 3, and don't get me wrong, it hits Rashee Rice in the hands, but he doesn't catch it, and they give the ball back to the Texans in that same situation. They actually get the stop, and they push him back further to where they have to punt, get the ball back. Kelsey had maybe one of the worst games we've seen Kelsey have in a while, bounces off of his hands, interception. Texans get a field goal. They win 20-10. In a game where Chiefs are not mathematically eliminated, but this makes it very hard for them now because that they do not have tiebreaker over the Texans. The Texans now have the tiebreaker over them because the Texans have beaten them. The Colts, they had the tiebreaker over, but the Colts now are falling out because of Daniel Jones' ruptured Achilles. So they're at 6-7. The Texans are at 8-5. So the Texans have a 2-game lead on them with 4 games left to play and a tiebreaker. So they need the Texans to drop 3 of their final games while the Chiefs win all of their final games in order to actually get the 1-game lead over the Texans so that the tiebreaker doesn't have to kick in. So in a game that was almost do or die, pretty surprising the decision making in a 10-10 game from Andy Reid to go for it like that. You have to feel how a game's going, and that game was not a go for it game. That game was pin field position, see if your defense can also come away with a takeaway, and get gifted something the way you gifted the Texans by going for it on 4th and 1. So lost there, 22-29 overall on the day. Okay, so then Monday Night Football tonight. So we're on the Chargers plus 3.5. We gave that to you very early on in the week. You cannot get 3.5 anymore. I'm not comfortable with you guys taking anything under 3, so hopefully you already got it. Justin Herbert looking like he's going to be a go. We think a lot of the struggles that the Eagles have had, and we've been saying this for a couple of weeks, even though we were on them against the Bears, that had more to do with our lack of trust and faith in the Bears than anything that we felt was positive on the Eagles. The inability to run the ball with Saquon, the inability to connect on some of the deep crossing routes, the tush push not being effective, all these things we think are now pretty strongly embedded in the framework of the Eagles offense. I do think they have an excellent defense, but you have Justin Herbert at home in a dome. I think there's enough, well, in a canopy. I think there's enough that the Chargers do offensively to cover the 3. Obviously, that's why we love the 3.5 that we got. I'm concerned a little bit about the missing tackles, but the Eagles' pass rush hasn't been quite as phenomenal. And with the Jalen Carter injury, that defensive line takes a pretty strong step back. So we actually think the Chargers will probably win this one outright, but obviously we love the 3.5, and with how desperate the Eagles are, I wouldn't. I think I'm seeing most lines at 2 right now. I wouldn't do it. So hopefully you guys grab this one earlier. We are on Chargers plus 3.5 for 5 units. All right, that's it, guys. Getting out of here. This is a condensed week upcoming because there's no slate of college games. We have Army Navy, which maybe we will, maybe we won't play. We'll see. We'll keep reading it. And then we just have our Thursday, Sunday, Monday NFL slate upcoming. So a little bit of a breather before then we step into the end of the NFL season, college football playoff, and then into NFL playoff. And we'll talk to you guys a little bit Tuesday this week about the college football playoff landscape and some of those opening lines and what we're looking at, what we're thinking, all that stuff. Have a great rest of your Monday. Enjoy Monday Night Football, and let's get them tonight.